So we are here. I'm grateful to be here with you all. Thank you for joining today's tea session. Cheers. What tea are you drinking in your life these days? I'd love to know. So, where we left off in the last session was talking about this arc and this sovereign kin journey and some of the waters, and mostly Reimagination, which is coming on the 18th of September, and this recalibration journey. And that album is coming in mid-November. And these two albums go with each other. They're sister albums. Reimagination is the movement, the dance songs, what brings us alive. And recalibration is the alignment with what is true and making space in ourselves to really hear what's needed so that we can then have clear vision that is worth creating. And from there, imagine the world we want to see, but not from that small self, not from the personal self, but from a much bigger, cleared out space of recalibration. And I definitely, when I started making, I knew I was going to create Reimagination. All the songs were done. I wanted to release them. And then the insight came to make Recalibration, to make a sister album that's all ambient and spacious. And I was like, oh, fun. And like every single album, I think it's a massive initiation. It's been such a massive initiation and such a beautiful initiation. And it's really led me into a place of being available for the water to come through. So that's the first thing I'll say about water is that it comes into the vessel to the degree of space that there is to fill. It will fill the container, but if we're full, it just pours out. And so I had to empty. I am continually being made more spacious so that more can come through. That's been a lot of the recalibration. And from that, reimagination and recalibration, they dance back and forth. And so from that, now as I get really close to releasing Reimagination, the reimagining of the vision, the clarity, this DreamWaters project, all that has led me here, the reimagining of myself, all of it it's so much clearer because of the recalibration, and it's ready to come through, with so much more force and boldness, really. I mean, it's part of why I'm on here, honestly. If I'm going to get vulnerable, like I can get kind of like, I just want to be like kind of a hermit and not share so much. And I don't know, what am I going to talk about? But the directive has been to share more. And I don't know about anyone else, but for me at least, I have Leo rising, but I've got Aquarius sun. And they dance with each other. And Leo is like, put me on the biggest stage. I will be as bright as the stage as you give me. I'll get bigger the audience, And Aquarius is kind of like, I don't really want to talk about myself. I don't, let's talk about us. Let's talk about the collective. And the feedback I've been getting and, prompted is to share more. That maybe there's a desire to hear like what I've been up to on behind the sharing of the songs, like where do they come from and everything. And so I'm leaning into that. And I also, it feels the most true to also respond to what you are genuinely interested in, which is why I like to know. So always share with me what you're interested in the comments or however you wish to, because it is really important. I don't really want to just share stuff if it's not actually helpful. So I feel like there's enough stuff in the world and I want to make meaningful creations always. And so, but the intention of this is really to connect more with you all and to share more about the greater movements within these personal creative shifts that are happening, to also share the bigger processes, because these next projects want everyone to collaborate. It's a huge, because it's not just us doing our thing anymore. We are in the age of Aquarius fully, and it's all about collaboration, and not just on an art level. Yes, on an art level. This is the most collaborative album that I will have ever made. This is the biggest and most collaborative live experience that I will have ever done. All of those things are true, but there's this greater piece of collaboration, which is we cannot create the vision that we know is possible for the world unless we do it together. Each of us is essential to anchor the vision. Each of us needs to believe it with full conviction and commitment. Each of us needs to see it and give our precious currency of attention to it. And we do it together. And the more we see it, the more it lights us up. And then we share it with each other. So that's a lot of why I'm even on here, is that I'm so lit up by what is possible and what is coming through, and these collaborations, and the level of humans that I'm being increasingly connected to, and what they're up to, and what I know we can do in this world. And I just feel like I have to share. It's essential. It's part of the sparking of each other. Each of us, the more we share ourselves, the more we share our true radiance, the more we share what we're up to, the more we share the vulnerability, the more we share our shine and our vision, the more we ignite other people to have their own vision. So I'm going to just check on the tech real quick, because it looks like things are maybe glitching a little bit. Is that what's happening for you guys? Let me just see. So hopefully this works better. So I spoke about sparking. So I'm going to start with fire to water. So the first initiation was fire. And fire, the first album was called The Spark, but the directive really came a full year and a half earlier. And I knew I was creating an album called Sovereign Kin. I thought it was one album. But what I was shown is that it was multiple albums, and that we were moving through the elements, and the first element was fire. And within about a month of that realization, as I shared before, I was experiencing a complete burning away of my previous life. Not literally, thankfully, but quite on every level. Relationship of 10 years, home of 10 years that I'd helped build on land, like all of it, everything was kind of dissolving. And that whole year that followed was a purification through fire, and quite an initiation, and quite challenging, and quite fast. A lot of ego burning, which fire does. And what I've really felt through reflecting on this journey so far is how fire burns, but that burning is sort of a reset. It is a clarification, and it can be so intense and shake us to our core. And it also makes space for the rains to fall. And the rains fall on this land that has been charred, and this carbon, and creates new soil and waters seeds often that had never been seen, had not been seen in years. This often happens in areas that have gotten burned, that the plants that people haven't seen for generations suddenly bloom again, because those seeds had been maybe suppressed by other things that had been growing. And then there's an opportunity, the gift of fire. And so at the point of releasing the spark, water rushed in. As I shared before, I became pregnant in 2 months, and I've just been fully in the water initiation since then. But so much of what I learned through fire was really allowing the purification of the soul to occur, to clear space, and to clear space, and to clear space so that water has a place to hydrate and to nourish the soil. So it definitely, well, I feel like we're having some. So water rushed in and taught me everything about trust. It taught me everything about surrender, about letting go of the shoreline and seeing who's around you as you float in the current. And I would be lying if I said that was just an easy process. It was definitely led to some of the most intense, challenging moments of my life, particularly going through water, through the initiation of then becoming a mother, and postpartum, which was a massive initiation in itself, as mamas know. And it's so personal. And I won't go into all the details, but definitely has been changed me forever. And I think that in some ways, the initiation of postpartum was a final purification by fire as well, of really cleaning out any parts of old beliefs, the preferences, habits of thinking, things that I was still holding on to that no longer fit the new version of me as a mother and as a woman that is ready to step fully into service, because motherhood does that. The beautiful thing that I've found about this whole passage, maiden into mother, or I mean men go through it too. It's like the knight into the father. It's a very, very powerful journey, and Isaac and I have talked a lot about this, how it really tunes us to not be about us as much. And that journey is so intense because there's so many parts that, even if it seemed like we're so about the world, and my songs have always been in service to the world and everything, and I've always had that perspective, like as a whole worldview, and yet there are still so many parts that are operating that, like, I want this, I prefer this, and that gets really recalibrated, really rearranged through the initiation of parenthood. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that sacrifice on the ego altar, on the soul altar of the ego. And so really, I would say a big shift happened when my daughter, Elora, arrived. And her presence really initiated the final spark, the final integration of what I'd been learning through fire and going into water. And so as I made more space, and as I allowed the initiations to clear me out, no matter how hard and painful they were, clearing, and a lot of it relational, I'll be honest, a lot of it was us relationally needing to clear ourselves. And it made space, and it made space. And the water began to rush in stronger than ever. And so again, it's this deep learning that I'm sitting with of how that the challenge often leads us to these ego surrender places, this surrendering of our prior selves. And we ultimately are then more available for what we are called to and what is wanting to call itself through us. I talk a lot about this in containers that I've done before too. We have this idea that we want to be a creative artist in this certain field. Like maybe I want to write songs, or I want to be a performer, or I want to paint, or I want to write a book. But when we truly choose to get out of the way, when we truly embark on that journey of being a vessel for creativity itself and for the soul, getting out of our way means that we don't get to choose what it looks like, and it might surprise us. We might embark on the path wanting to be a musician, and then all of a sudden poetry is coming through us, and then all of a sudden we're writing it, and all of a sudden people want us to read it, and all of a sudden we're being asked to speak it, and all of a sudden we're being asked to publish a book, and then all of a sudden we're on this whole other path because it wanted to come through that way. Or maybe you want to be a poet and you start writing poetry, and you're just fascinating with houses, and you start like writing about the language of wood and the language and the architecture, and all of a sudden you realize that like you want to learn about architecture, and all of a sudden you're designing houses. Like there's so many ways for art to come through us. And when we really let go and surrender, it allows for the space for that greater thing to move us. And that, I believe, is what is most needed in the world, because each of us holds a key for this big collaborative dream of what's possible and the most beautiful life and the greatest harmony. And all of it requires each of us to be that tuned vessel listening for our peace each moment. Not just what we create, but how we speak, how we show up to our relationships, all of it. So that's a bit about fire into water, a really big journey. So I'm going to share just a little bit. We started late, so I'm going to go a little past 12:30. But this DreamWaters project that's coming through, and I'll be speaking more deeply to it in the coming sessions because it's so vast. So I'm not going to dive too deep yet. But it's all linked together. And this is the magic of it, is that it wasn't just fire into water. It was fire into the water initiation. And as I started creating DreamWaters, reimagination and then recalibration wanted to be made. Because in order to fully receive the transmissions of waters, which is receiving the breath of life itself, it is to be hydrated into my own full vitality. And in order to even be available to the transmission of the waters, I have had to fully recalibrate and reimagine myself as initiation processes. And simultaneously, all of these initiations, while they are very personal, are mirroring, as everything is, as within, so without, always mirroring what's happening around. And so I see we are in a collective recalibration moment on so many levels. And I would love to hear in the chat how your recalibration has been showing up, or in the comments of this video, because so many of us are going through a reimagination of who we are, which often leads us to a recalibration. And that recalibration is asking us to show up differently. It's asking us to commit to certain different practices. It's asking us often to withdraw our attention from that which distracts us from what is true and real, and to reinvest our intention, our energy, our money, our force, our life force into what is a mirror of what we want to see in the world, to feed it. Who do you imagine yourself to be? The recalibration is what brings you there. What makes you the vessel, the habits, the thoughts that are the embodiment of the version of yourself that you want to be. This is the core of all things that people will call manifestation, right? It's magnetism, it's resonance, it's being the version of ourselves that already is that we want. We're not thinking about what we want. We're thinking and feeling into who is the version of me that's already there, experiencing that. And then we feel that, and we feel everything that's not in alignment with that. And then we make a choice. How am I going to recalibrate myself, my habits, my thoughts, my behaviors, so that I am that person now? And then the externals get to reorganize themselves. They will reorganize themselves because it's all magnetism. Because we're in a quantum field of possibility. And what we observe is what occurs. And part of that observation, this observer effect that has been studied, what we observe comes into form. For those who aren't familiar, look up the observer effect. The electron is a wave until we look at it, and it becomes a particle. It literally goes from being a wave of probability into a particle of form by the act of us seeing it. What we look at, what we attend to, what we give our attention to comes into form from a field of possibility. This is profoundly liberating because it means that everything is possible. And it is profoundly magnifying to the personal responsibility and opportunity that we have. Someone wrote focus in the chat. And it's so real. You know, when you really learn about the quantum field, it's like on the one hand, you're like, wow, everything's possible. On the other hand, you're like, oh my gosh, everything that happens in my life, everything, all the struggles I'm having, all the thought, like everything in the world, in some way, in some quantum way, is an inside job. And then it becomes this incredible journey of how to recalibrate in a way that can be truly beneficial to the world we know is possible. So, I have totally veered from whatever I thought I was going to talk about today, but this is great. So this is a lot of what DreamWaters is about, actually. The waters have been leading me to understanding human vitality and the potential of health on a quantum biological level, on a molecular level, because the phrase water is life is true on the most molecular level, on the DNA level, on the level of water holding all of the systems of our body and holding the memory and being vibrationally attuned. Water is a vehicle for these processes. And being in immersive study with water has also led me directly to understanding more about the quantum field and about synchronicity and what is possible and how powerful our thoughts are and our emotions and our energy. And I believe that is why this is called DreamWaters. You know, these things get named before I fully understand what they are. Because DreamWaters, this project that is coming into form now, it is speaking to the all that is possible in the quantum field of potential and how we dream it and how we give our attention to what we're dreaming is what comes into form. And so the waters are guiding us to truly use the power of our imagination and to truly give our attention there. So Reimagination, the album that is coming in just less than a month now, on September 18th, is the first step of that. It's really reclaiming the power of our imagination and dreaming big and visioning what we know is possible and putting our attention there and giving our time to that, giving our energy to that. And the recalibration that wants to go hand in hand with reimagination for me was withdrawing my attention from that which was pulling my life force from believing in the power of my imagination. For me, that was leaving social media. That was completely disconnecting from the feeds of other people's thoughts and beliefs and all the things, all the constant stimuli, positive, negative, disconnecting from that. It's been 5 months now. And this process of coming back into alignment and clarity and choosing about 5 or 6 information streams that I'm getting, that I'm actually letting recalibrate me. Filling my any screen time now is filled with learning here on this platform of YouTube, and reading a lot more books and being outside and talking to people, having more conversations with the incredible humans that are popping into my field because I'm now a match for that. So I guess part of why I wanted to share DreamWaters is because it is such a massive unfolding and collaborative endeavor that it wants you, my community, to know about it at the very beginnings so that we can all go on this journey together. And it's part of this greater arc that we're in of really tuning back into what makes us human and alive. And really asking, do I want to give my precious time to these things that are other people's worlds and thoughts, or that are just distracting, or that just maybe numb me out? Or do I want to fill my life with all the things that bring me alive? With everything that lights me up, with everything that connects me, and in so doing, becoming truly a global citizen, because then I become a channel. We can only be a clear channel if we are clear, if we are attuned to the messages that want to come through us. Not other people's thoughts, not other people's lives or creations, but our own. Are you ready to be the artist with your whole life as your art? And what does that look like for you? What do you paint on the canvas of your life? What are you dreaming into being? How are you living as the most audacious, epic character in the story of existence, even when no one's watching? Making art happens every moment. It is not necessarily putting words to a page or notes to an instrument. Art is happening every moment. It's how we speak. It's how we move. It's intentionality. It's flair. Whatever feels like your version. It's what kind of tea you're drinking. It's how you're thinking about life. It's how you're choosing to look at the world. When you look outside, do you see the canvas that nature has painted that day in all its glory? We get to create the art of every moment. So I guess that's what Water wanted to speak through today. This live experience that's coming and the album is a transmission of water in the largest sense of what water is. The dream of the molecular memory, the cellular memory of all we know is possible and all that has been. The awakening to our own potential, the awakening within this dream and becoming lucid to know that we are creators every moment. So I think I'll leave it there. I think there were a couple questions that I was going to touch on. I believe I spoke to a little bit creative process and emotional processing interweaving. It's definitely been a whole journey. I can speak more deeply to that. If you're interested in that, pop a comment below. There was a beautiful question around asking for help in the space of motherhood and creating space in my creative life for that. And that's a big one. And I might talk more about that next time. If you have any questions from those topics or any other topics, put them in the comments of this video, because we will be able to look at those for the next session. And just on the note of motherhood, for any mamas that need this, or parents that need this, but especially mamas, as a creative woman, I had a lot of fears. I've shared this before. I had a lot of fears about becoming a mother because I am so committed and in devotion to my art and to the muse and to what comes through. And so it was a non-negotiable for me to get support. And it's something that I like to be really clear and honest about, because it really has shaped how motherhood has been experienced by me. I've asked for help from my community. I've asked for help from my family. I've asked for help from my partner. I've asked for help. We've budgeted in babysitters, nanny support. Alora's with our nanny right now. And, you know, even when times when I didn't have a budget to have more nanny help, I asked my community, and people, so many mothers wrote back and said, thank you for asking. I didn't want to ask when I was a mother. And I didn't realize until I became a mother how hard it is to ask and to set up those systems of support. For me, it's a little easier because I'm very I have a lot of Aquarian energy, and so I need solo time. I need to do my thing. I know that I'm no good for my daughter or the world or my relationships if I'm not recalibrating, if I'm not aligning with what's true. And so I guess I just want to share that I've had no hesitations around asking for support and setting up support systems as a mother, as a creative. And even when money has been not as flowing, it was a non-negotiable for me to still have some of our resources going to support. And so I don't know, for anyone who needs to hear that. I've talked to a lot of moms recently who are really burned out. Yeah, just got a comment in the chat about it too. Like, it's real, and please get the support you need. Once, twice a week. You can also reach out to, cool older teens that really want some experience and have a job, want to make a little money, and they're right there in the house. Almost, like, I'd say 98% of the time, I'm in the house when Elora's here with the nanny. And I like that because then I'm not away from her, but I can still focus. And so just ask for it. The first thing we have to do is ask, because we won't even know what's possible until we ask. Ask the people around you. Ask your partner, hey, how do you think I could get more support? I need like 2 blocks a week of solo time or work time or whatever. I need to go to the river once a week. How do we do that? Ask your community, ask your friends, ask other moms, get creative. So many things will come through, and mostly people will be so happy you asked. And I feel like this is such a bigger thing, way beyond even parenting. We have to ask. If we need support, we ask. We have to ask. If we have a vision, we have to speak it. And as we keep going on here, I'm going to share more and more of the vision that I see for us all, for the world, and us as humans. And I've been maybe scared to share a little bit because they may say I'm a dreamer or that it's unrealistic. But I know what's possible. I have no doubt, especially now learning about the quantum field, quantum physics, everything is possible. So why would I not speak about it? If this is all a grand dream that we are awakening within, why would I not share more? So that's what I'm here doing, I suppose. And getting to see the comments that are in the chat and these hearts that are popping up and feel you all, even though it's virtual, it's a beautiful thing to get to feel us all here. New Mexico, South America, so beautiful from all over. And just to feel that we are a community of humans that believe in what's possible. I really appreciate you all. I really am grateful that you're this community that comes together around my art, other artists' art that I collaborate with, the resonant fields of art, and what you're creating. All of you who are parents, mothers, all of you who are tending to the earth, all of you who are believing in a bigger vision and the most beautiful potentials for the next generations and helping actively create that. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be in this community. I'm so grateful that you follow me and that you receive these songs and these transmissions. So thank you. There's so much more coming, and we're in this together. So thank you for joining this live today. Thank you for being part of this global community. Please drop comments in the video after this ends or while you're watching it. It's beautiful to hear from you, any reflections. It's beautiful to receive your insights on this journey. We're all collaborating together. It's beautiful to receive your questions if you have them. I'll touch on more in the next live. So in the next one, we're gonna go a bit deeper into some of these journeys and just keep diving in together. So thank you so much. Cheers again to the great aliveness, the current of beauty as it pours through you in each miracle of a moment. Here's to the art of your life and you, the artist. I love you all so much. We'll see you next time. Mwah.